Welcome back to the StoryLens podcast, where your story is our focus. Today is a spotlight episode where we pause our regular conversations to shed light on important topics that need immediate attention. I'm Kenny Conklin, COO of StoryOne, and I'm here with John Christensen for this particular episode, who is the CEO and managing member of StoryOne. This was really an unusual episode for John and I. John's mother was aggressively targeted in a computer-based scam just a few months ago. My mother experienced something similar just last week. These weren't minor phishing emails. These were coordinated, high-pressure psychological operations designed to create fear, urgency, and isolation. And I know John and I are both so proud of our mothers for reaching out to us and help them walk through this process of the scam that they were confronted with. We hope that you learned something from this episode and are able to apply and potentially help others if they are in need of help, if they're in a scam as well.
Welcome to the StoryLens podcast, where your story is our focus. We explore wealth, legacy, and purpose through a process that starts with deep listening and leads to one-of-a-kind strategies. At StoryOne, we believe the best planning begins with you. This is a StoryLens Spotlight, special episode where we pause our regular conversations to shed light on an important topic that needs our immediate attention.
Today's conversation it's personal. Elder financial fraud is not just a headline for John and I. It has directly affected my mom last week and John's mom a few months ago. Yeah. What happened to our families is happening to many others. These scams, they're sophisticated, targeted, and deeply convincing. The impact reaches far beyond money. Our goal today is awareness and protection. We want families to understand what to watch for, how to respond, and how to have the conversations that safeguard the people they love. If this episode is helpful, please share it. Spotlight episodes exist to bring clarity and counsel when it matters most. So this is an unusual episode for us, John. John's mother was aggressively targeted a few months ago. My mother experienced the same thing last week. These weren't just minor kind of phishing emails. They were coordinated, high-pressure kind of psychological operations designed to create kind of fear, uncertainty, isolation. It really kind of forced us to confront a few things. The fraud landscape, it's shifted, it's changed, it's really becoming much more prevalent for all people of all financial situations, all the way up to ultra-high net worth families. So today we hope we can kind of cover a few things. How these scams actually work, at least our experience and what we've had with our moms, how they're becoming more aggressive with technology, and really how families need to evolve their governance legally and structurally to protect against them. So before we kind of kick off on our stories, I just want to throw a few facts out there. 73% of U.S. adults have reported experiencing some type of online scam or digital attack. I know I've had a bunch where I look at it and I'm like, what is this? Worldwide, 57% of adults have reported being scammed. In 2024, there was a reported $12.5 billion in fraud cases by the SEC. But law enforcement advocacy groups think that it's probably 10 times that. People are too afraid to report. They're too embarrassed. There's just a lot of feelings involved in these types of scams. On an annual basis, 2 to 3 million people get affected by these scams. That's a lot of people. I know I'm really proud of my mom, and I know you're proud of your mom for reaching out to us. I know a lot of times they feel like they're the only one. There's a lot of feelings in there, but I'm super proud of my mom. And I talked to her, and she actually wants to get this information out there for other people. So as we kind of progress through this, John, you kind of want to cover like what happened to your mom and some of the details.
Yeah, it was, well, I think one thing that people need to be aware of is that like these fraudsters, these people that are scamming you, they are not a random person sitting in their basement doing this. There's literally office buildings full of these people in various countries around the world, and this is what they do. And this is very coordinated. They know exactly what they're doing. So, again, like the good and the bad of that. The good of that is the people that are threatening you are probably thousands of miles away, not local. The bad of that is like they're not within any kind of U.S. jurisdiction, right? And so, interestingly, I had the chance to see Frank Abagnale speak in person at an FBI event a few years ago. Frank Abagnale's the guy, Catch Me If You Can. If you've seen that movie, that's Frank
Great
Abagnale, right? Like one of the best fraudsters ever. And it was just fascinating to hear him talk. But, you know, he basically was just advocating some things, and we'll get into that today. But it was just fascinating to listen to him talk about the concerted effort that goes into putting these frauds together. So, yeah. So my mom, the story was, and this is interesting because real time she was trying to reach out to me, but kind of how things happen is my mom was having trouble with her computer. I'm sorry, with her printer. And she went online and looked up HP to get HP's phone number. And so she called a phone number that she thought was HP. It was a phone number that obviously was not HP. And how that got on the internet and how she ended up where she was, I'm not sure. Maybe there was an email. I'm not exactly sure how she made this contact. But it became this thing where the initial thing was they were going to send her a refund because her printer wasn't working properly. So to send her a refund, what do they need?
Bank account.
Bank account, right? Then they go and they input it. Oh, that was the wrong number. Like, again, kind of a telltale sign. And again, just to back up just a minute, like my mom's 75, super sharp, still running her own business. Like we were talking about some financials over the weekend, and she remembers numbers from years ago. Like, oh, I got paid $4,000 X number of dollars on that thing. Like, so she's like really with it.
Yep.
And so it just became this thing where they begin to layer on different things that they wanted her to do. But kind of the long and the short of it is they were able to access bank accounts. Those bank accounts then were drained. But then this is like actually the most disturbing part, which again, like you don't, I mean, it's just, so basically they had her go to the store and buy a certain type of debit card.
Like a prepaid.
Like a prepaid.
Right.
It was I think it was a Kohl's debit card or something like that.
Okay.
But they told her if she didn't do it that they were going to murder her. Right? And so, again, like they told her, we live 2 hours away. We know exactly where you live. And if you don't do this, we're going to murder you. And again, like this is not like, this isn't the guy next door. This isn't a person in your basement. I mean, these people are probably sitting in a building in Russia or whatever. But again, like,
or India.
Yeah, but it's just super scary to have that threat, right? And so it is this thing where it was like, you know, my mom, who's very rational, very reasonable, she was, so while this is all going on, they're on her cell phone. So she's trying to call me from that same cell phone, but I had my old home number. She had my old home number in her cell phone, which was actually my oldest son now has that phone number. So she kept calling my oldest son and saying, hey, there's somebody that's trying to defraud me. And there are these weird grandchildren frauds out there.
Right.
So my son's getting this call and he's like, is this really grandma? Like, so he's trying to call me. I mean, it was just like this horrible game of telephone. But I mean, basically the result was that, you know, my mom, I mean, this went on for hours and hours. And, you know, again, it's just one of these things where you don't want your mom to be under that kind of stress. She was alone in it. Like, it was this thing where it was just like, again, like if it's happening to someone you love, it's like the worst case scenario, right? Like it just makes me sad that that happened. But then two, it does just make you start to wonder, like, how can we help? How can we help? And that's kind of what this whole show is about today. Is we're trying to just get the word out. We're trying to help, but then we also want to give you some tools to help yourself or to help your family members. So.
And you're kind of on the back side of that. It's a few months ago.
Yep.
What was the transition from they had access to the accounts to today?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, and this is like, again, like the banks are being helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so actually that night, kind of as this, I was in a meeting while this was all happening. So, I call her. She was still pretty worked up and upset. But basically, kind of as we worked through things, the money disappeared from her accounts,
Mm-hmm.
all of it. But then over the next 24, 48 hours, it actually reappeared. So I'm not sure whether the bank had safeguards in place, right, or if there needed to be some type of a second type of approval. But long story short is from a from a cash standpoint, she was made whole. So, which we're really thankful for.
So it was definitely a scary experience.
Yeah.
The outcome ended up financially being okay,
Yep.
but it was quite a thing to go through.
Oh,
Ordeal.
yeah.
If you had you and your oldest son Wyatt,
Right.
and your mom on a tripartite call,
Right.
it's a stressful and emotional thing.
Yeah, and meanwhile, my mom was literally calling local sheriff's office, local police department,
Mm-hmm.
and it is like, who do you call even, right?
Right.
Pardon me. So that's one of the crazy things that you don't really think about is, so about 15 years ago, I actually uncovered a Ponzi scheme here in town. Through kind of an odd course of events. I was trying to help this guy out, and he was telling me the story, and it turns out he was a victim of a Ponzi scheme. And again, I'm a licensed attorney. I've been in the financial service industry at the time for 10 years.
Right.
So if there's a Ponzi scheme, who do you call? Right? Who do you call?
Who do you call?
Right? Do you call the local sheriff? Do you call the police department? Do you call the FBI? Do you call the Secretary of State? I mean, because it is this thing where, and it's the exact same thing on these little frauds. It's like, you're going to call the local sheriff. What are they going to do? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to call it is just very, like Johnson County, where we live, they may have a task force that works with this kind of thing, but like a little county in Nebraska, they probably don't.
Mm-hmm.
So just interesting.
Well, thanks for sharing the story.
Yeah.
It's very, it's traumatic. And I would say from, my mom's story had some similar features. It was something needs to be fixed or something needs to be done or resolved. It escalates over time. There's access to financial information, and there's kind of action or activities that happen around that, and then there's emotions that escalate in some direction.
Yep.
Yours was significantly, in a scary direction, right?
Yep.
I would say that my mom's was kind of similar in the way that the steps happened.
Yep.
Where I get a call from my mom. I'm so proud of her for calling me, and she told me that morning, this was last Wednesday, that she's been talking to some individuals on the phone, and they have asked her to take money out of her bank account, and then they were going to call her and tell her where to take it. And that automatically caused the record to scratch a little bit. And I'm like, well, Mom, what's going on? And then she started telling me about the story of everything that has happened up into that point.
For days, right? Like this.
4 days.
Yeah, like this has gone on.
This was
just like day 3 or day 4 of this.
Culmination of just of events with these individuals.
Yeah.
And what I've pieced together in talking to my mom and the banks is that very similar to yours, my mom got an email and it looked very professional. It was from Microsoft. And it said that my mom owed them money. And it said to call this phone number, just like what you had said. So my mom likes to cover her. She's got a heart of gold. Yeah. Likes to cover her expenses. She called the number. And of course they said, yes, you owe us money. And yes, we need to fix your computer. So she basically, they sent her a program to download So she downloaded it onto her computer, and these individuals got access to her computer completely. And they acted like they were fixing some things. After a while, they said, okay, now you need to pay us. And so my mom said, great. And she logged into her bank at that moment. So the software that they had, they could do anything on her computer. They could see everything she was doing. They could move the mouse. They could type on. I mean, they could do whatever they wanted. Access to every single file. So they were watching her do this. And essentially, they gave an account number that she was supposed to send money to make payment that she was due. Very similar to your story, John. Something happened in the transaction where they said, oh my gosh, we accidentally sent you money, just like the refund.
Lo and behold.
Right?
Yeah.
And what they had done is, because they had seen her bank, she had logged in, shown everything, they had in that time frame created a fake screen to look like her bank account, showing the deposits went into her account. Okay. And it was it was a decent amount of money that they had shown her. And they're like, and this guy on the other line wasn't threatening to, do really bad things to her. He was saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job. And my mom with a heart of gold is like, well, okay, we don't want this to happen. I don't want you to lose your job. He was absolute expert at what he was doing.
Well, and they'd also been very, very nice to her, right?
They've been very nice to her. They fixed
very
it.
Professional.
Very professional.
We're from Microsoft, and we're here to help with your computer.
Well, and if you think about it, just psychologically, if I see something and I call, I'm like, I automatically think I have a problem.
Yep.
Right. So you're conditioned, whether you do or you don't.
Yeah.
And then you automatically think, I owe them money, whether you do or you don't. You just it's in the back of your head. So my mom said, well, I don't want you to lose your job. I want to make this right. So my mom ends up going to the bank. She drove to the bank, and she ended up wiring some money to these individuals. Okay. And the individuals had her phone number, and they were calling her and saying, okay, well, you haven't actually sent all the money that we deposited. I'm going to lose my job. And so they said, we need to get some more. So she also went and got some prepaid Visa cards and sent that to them to cover it. And then the third one was when she called me and said, hey, they want me to go take out quite a bit of cash. I need to be on the phone, and they're going to tell me where to go, and I'm going to do something. And that's when she called me. At that moment, I talked to my sister. We ended up meeting her in Lawrence, which is where the only branch of her bank was in her area.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. We had to spend pretty much an entire day filing for wire fraud, credit card fraud, because when they were actually in her computer, they had full access to it. When she was logged in, they moved money from her Visa rewards card as a cash advance to her savings account before she shipped money out. Okay, so we have credit card fraud, we have wire fraud in those. So we had to file for both of those.
I've done this business for basically 20 years. I would have no idea how to give myself a cash advance from a credit card into my checking account. So that's a pretty...
They did. Yeah. So it's I mean, these guys are, I liken it to, these guys are professional athletes.
Yeah.
They are absolute professionals. This is what they train for.
Yeah.
Super, super, super good at what they do. We had to go to another bank and make sure that we told them what was going on as well. We closed all of our accounts. We opened new accounts so that we could make sure that everything was protected and okay. And the other thing that we said would be a good thing to do was to go and freeze her credit from the credit bureaus. So we went to Experian, freezed it, Equifax, freezed it, TransUnion, because if there's any incidents of identity fraud, they can't. It's much harder to take loans or credit cards out or those kinds of things. The other thing that she did was she had to file a police report. She went to the local police department, she filed a police report, and she got a case number. My understanding is you can use that case number if an identity fraud happens. Yeah. You're like, okay, we've already filed. Here's the case number, because you will start getting collections.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's a credit card and you owe a bunch of money or whatever. And you're like, no, I've already filed my identity fraud.
Yeah.
And so, we're less than a week out on this thing, or just about a week on, everything that has happened. We've been through a lot of things. I can't be more proud of my mom today for pausing, calling, asking, and walking through this process, and even allowing me to be able to talk about it today to hopefully help anybody who's listening to this podcast to step back
For sure.
and kind of take that pause.
Yeah.
So that was my experience. Very similar
Oh, yeah.
to yours in a lot of ways. Just so our viewers know, the application that she downloaded was called Team Viewer. She also downloaded something called Screen Connect because I could go into her downloads. I could see the exact day and time that she did that, right? So went in, deleted those things.
Yeah.
We're not ever going to use that computer again because
Who knows what it is?
who knows?
Yeah.
These guys
Malware.
are absolutely sophisticated. So that was our story.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what the interesting thing about the couple things that Frank Abagnale said in his presentation that were just very poignant. He said that, if you had a burglar in your neighborhood, it would be really traumatic, and there'd be houses broken into, but eventually he would make a mistake and someone would see him, him or her, and they would call the police, and the police would show up, and that burglar would no longer be a problem in your neighborhood. Well, the issue we have now is these burglars are invisible, and there's a multitude of them, and there's, like if it happened to your mom, does the next door neighbor know anything about it? Or right? So it is just a thing where it's like the burglars are a great analogy, and that like in the real world, like that burglar would be in your neighborhood physically, and you could do something about it. What we have now is like it's just happening, like it's just a continuous onslaught of attempts. Yeah,
we all get things every single day.
That's right. Yep. And the other thing that was interesting that he said that I thought was poignant is, at the time he was 65, I think, and he said, on the black market, that his identity would be worth like $50 because he's 65. He goes, but my grandchildren that aren't yet 18, their information would be worth like $1,000.
Interesting.
Because if you're under 18, you actually don't have a credit report yet. So if you're under 18 and somebody has all your information, including your social security number, they can use that for fraudulent purposes for years before you even know it, because you don't have a credit report until you're 18.
Interesting.
So it's just interesting. Like as we get into this, there's just a lot of information that's, again, these people are sophisticated. They know what they're doing.
So a couple things. One is, I've thought about an analogy, and the thing about the internet is it's like you're walking out into a Major League Baseball game that's going on, and they're saying, hey, come up and you're going to hit, right? And there's a 100-mile-an-hour fastball that's coming at you. Well, I'm not going to hit that, right?
Yeah.
But that's the game.
But a lot of people would. That's
right, John. but the reality is that these guys are professional athletes, and the only way to really get out of this, even no matter what your feelings are or whatever, step out of the box.
Yeah.
Go back, pause, disconnect your internet.
Yeah.
Unplug your computer.
Get off the field.
Hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Right? Even
That's
with
right.
phones. I mean, you and I were dealing with a situation that I had where
goodness.
the police department called, and the phone number was the Olathe Police Department. So they can spoof any phone number.
That's right.
For anything.
Yep.
And so the best thing to do is just pause.
Yep.
Stop, and then call somebody that call us.
Yep.
Right? And just say something just doesn't feel quite right because you have time, and time is on your side.
Yeah.
But it's tough when you're sucked into those emotional
because
things.
they're actually trying to convince you that time is against you.
Exactly.
Right. They're trying to create a false urgency.
They are.
So the best thing you can do is to remove that time element. That's one of the aspects. Yeah.
Absolutely. So as we're looking at families of varying degrees of wealth, what are some of the things that you can do or think about from a financial standpoint to really kind of either create speed bumps or plan for these things?
Yeah.
What can you do, John?
Yeah. Some of the one of the things that I was as we were thinking about, as I was thinking about this is, I say it's not unusual for a family to have 10% of their net worth in cash, right? So if you're worth $1 million or if you're worth $50 million, if 10% of your net worth is in cash, that's, if you're worth $50 million, that's $5 million in cash, right?
Which is quite a bit of cash.
Which is a lot of cash, right? And so it is this thing where it's just like, historically what we've thought is we don't want to impose control over our mom or our dad. We don't want to have, if we're the matriarch or patriarch, we don't want to have someone have control over me. So the thought is we're going to wait as long as possible to have a durable power of attorney in place. We're going to wait as long as possible to have a co-signer on an account. Like there's those types of things. And I totally understand the element and desire for freedom there. But something that's also very real is that these scams are very, very real. So the larger the amount of cash you have access to, the larger the risk, right? So there is this material risk element of it. And, so some of the things that I've seen families do that I really, really love is that as people age, basically try to silo your risk, right? So do I need $100,000 in my checking account, or do I actually really need $10,000 in my checking account? Right? Because if I only have $10,000 in my checking account and something like this happens, that's the amount of money that's at risk. I can have the rest of it somewhere and accessible, but maybe that access is only with a phone call, right? So one of the families that we work with, there was a trustee in place, and the trustee would basically keep all the cash that was necessary, all the investments, but then have the beneficiary have a checking account where they were in complete control of. They could go to they could spend that money on whatever they wanted, but they would cap that number just to, again, it's more of a risk protection thing at that point. Yeah, just a speed bump. Yeah. And so there is this thing like, even if if you have a checking account and then you go to your investment advisor and you say, hey, I want a cash management account, and I can get money out of my cash management account and put it right into my checking account same day most times, but I have to make a phone call, right? So in that case, like my mom, for instance, if my mom would have called my office, even if I wasn't there, somebody from the office would have been like, what do you need this for? And she could have said, this is what's going on. And then somebody could have stepped in to help, right? She would have had a friendly voice. She would have had somebody there that was on her side, right? It's even a sounding board. And so there is this thing where, like, if there's just a speed bump, like that's a very easy thing to do. But then I do think this element of, because this fraud thing is so real, I do think being proactive on the durable power of attorney, I think is actually something we're going to be moving toward, right? So historically, durable power of attorney is kicked in when somebody becomes incompetent. And a lot of times that says incompetent judged by 2 doctors, right? So there's a hurdle for that attorney in fact to take over.
Right.
Well, what I'm liking as we've had this experience and as I've thought about it, like, why don't we get that power of attorney in, like right now we do a lot of those immediate anyhow, but why don't we get that power of attorney, or that attorney in fact, access to the bank accounts, right? So they do have, even if it's view only, access, or go to the bank and set up like, hey, if we're going to wire over $25,000, we need 2 people to approve it. Like there's a lot of different speed bumps you could put in place.
Absolutely.
And it is like, what I'm not advocating is taking freedom away. What I'm advocating is governance and good stewardship, right? Because the larger that amount that you have access to, that's the amount that's at risk.
Yeah, and it's more of stewardship, a loving thing,
Yeah.
making sure somebody's not taken advantage of.
Yeah.
In certain situations.
Yeah, and it is a thing where it's like, again, like, quite frankly, my mom was, like, she was terrorized for the whole duration of this thing. They literally told her that they were going to kill her, right? So had there been a firewall somewhere where she would have had to call somebody, engage somebody, like, that's at one level, it's an inconvenience if you're trying to do something that's normal. But if you're under duress, it's actually a lifeline, right? So it is like, yeah. So I think it's going to be something that we are more advocating, which is getting more people involved early. And again, it's not this thought of reducing freedom. It's more of just good governance, good stewardship, and quite frankly, being helpful.
Yeah, and I know for you and I, this is very recent, and the awareness needs to continue for everybody, who's really out there. And these types of scams that really come from a text, from an email, from a phone call, generally that are unsolicited.
Mm-hmm.
Any one of those things you can kind of verify, check, make sure that they're valid.
Yeah.
In both of our cases, it's, hey, that phone number that you see on a Google search or that phone number that they're telling you to call, check it. Like, is that actually going to Microsoft?
Yep.
Is the link, a Microsoft link? I know there was another example just last week from an extended family member who had the same thing, but it was with an Epson printer.
Yep.
Exact same thing, right? These are coming more and more. So it's really stepping back and saying, okay, I didn't solicit this. These companies are not going to tell you that you need repair.
Yep.
They're not going to, call you for owing them or those kind. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. One of my dear friends, his mother was getting elderly, and she literally had an iPad. And about once every 6 weeks, she'd be like, I got an email from Microsoft, and I need to update my computer.
Yep.
And he kept saying, Mom, you don't have a computer, and we don't have any Microsoft.
But she asked the question, which was good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's good that
she wanted to do it. Like, she was ready to make that leap. So it's just, it's fascinating. But I do think the other thing is, like, a few things are happening simultaneously, right? Fraud is more prevalent. They are more aggressive. They are more dialed in. Like, they're better than they've ever been. Meanwhile, we are more reliant to do things online, right? So, like, we do all of our account opening through DocuSign, right? We do, right? So there is this element of, like, both things are true, which is unfortunate. And I kind of joke that, like, we're going to get to this point where it's like, I know it was Kenny because he was in my office and we shook hands.
That's right.
Right? Because it is this thing where it's like there are more and more, the prevalence of fraud is up, but we're also more reliant on technology. So, for instance, the IRS, like, now you need to make your payments online. Right? They don't want you to mail a check anymore.
Right.
Right? So it's both these things are true at the same time, unfortunately. Right? So it just speaks to how important it is to have people involved, for you to be very sure you're doing, you know what you're doing, because it is a thing where it's like, I don't know how many text messages I've received from the IRS saying that I have delinquent taxes, but it's, 10, 20. So it is this thing where it's like, unfortunately, these two things are coinciding. One is that fraud is more sophisticated. Two, we're doing more and more online all the time. So
right. And, even today I was sharing with you the MIT report that came out today.
Yeah.
That was talking about how ChatGPT and all this AI that's coming out is intersecting with fraud as well. It referenced the 2024 scam where somebody was on Zoom, and the scammers basically were a digital representation of the CFO for her company, or hers or his company, I'm not sure what gender, and other employees.
Yeah.
And there was a $25 million payment based on a digital representation of those. And this was 2024, so things have evolved quite a bit since then.
Yep.
So even sometimes voice, you're just like, is that really you, John?
Well, that's what last year there was a case where there were, I think, 2 congressmen and 2 senators that received phone calls from who they thought was Marco Rubio. And it wasn't. It was an AI-assisted voice, right? So it is just a thing where it's just like, it's going to be fascinating to see, like, can security keep up with technology? Because, quite frankly, like, the laws that we have now, they've not kept pace with the internet. They've not kept pace with AI. Like, there is this lag, and it is this thing where it's just like, as technology evolves, what are we going to do from a security standpoint?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but, things are evolving to a zero trust environment. Socially and through technology. And you kind of have to really step back and say, is this, whatever it is, real? Is it not real?
Right.
And have a second check to make sure, validate. Those are probably the prudent things to do mostly.
Well, it is like the other thing that I see often is, as people get older, fear becomes more prevalent, right? And so it is this thing where it's like Suki's mom, my wife's mom, passed away from Alzheimer's, and there was this period of time about 10 years before she passed away where you couldn't tell whether it was Alzheimer's or she was just insecure, right? Because it is this thing like, I forget things all the time. You forget things all the time. But we don't like second guess it. We're just like, oh yeah, that's just part of moving fast and doing a lot of things, right? But if you start to question yourself every time you did that, like you could get yourself in a pretty weird state, and all of a sudden risk is like super important. Or, fear is like a very big driver. So it is this thing where like if you're getting older and you don't want to lose your independence and you are like, so that's where you could just see where that kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy or this echo chamber where it's just like very difficult to get out of your own way and to reach out and ask for help.
Absolutely.
And so it is a thing where, again, I think what we're going to be advocating, and I think what I'm guessing where all of this is going to be moving is to implement strategies earlier where logic and reason are the basis and the reason. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a situation where we have 60-year-olds that are implementing durable powers of attorney just as a second set of eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would say, as we're kind of landing this special episode, if you're in a situation where you're currently in something that you're just not quite sure right now or in the future, at any part of that process, whether you've already sent money or you've actually done something and you're still ongoing, stop, call somebody. There's a lot of feelings involved, but people love you. That's the strongest emotion of all, and they want to help you out. Stop, unplug things, talk to somebody, and try to navigate through the situation and always verify everything, especially anything that's unsolicited.
Yeah. Well, and it is a thing where it's just like, even if you called your, if you call your financial advisor, if you call your CPA, if you call your attorney, like if you're in that position and you call your attorney and your attorney bills it $200 an hour or $500 an hour, and you pay him $1,500 to make sure things are okay, or you pay them $1,500 and they prevent something from happening, that's going to be a really wise use of $1,500, right?
Sure.
So it is this thing where it's just like, pick up the phone, call somebody, and I do understand like there is this embarrassment, there is this shame. Like some of the stats we looked at preparing for this saying that like the actual fraud numbers are probably 10x what's actually reported.
Yeah.
So, there is this shame, there is this embarrassment element to it, but like there's really nothing to be ashamed of. There's really nothing to be embarrassed about. And, if you can kind of help disclose that something that happened to you, it might prevent it from happening to somebody else.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Thank you, John, for being on the special episode, talking about your situation. I know you love your mom dearly, and I know I love my mom dearly as well, and I'm super proud of her. For all the moms and families out there, call somebody in your family if you're in a situation and try to walk through it. And hopefully the outcome is okay.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But thank you for so much for joining us on this first special episode of the podcast by StoryLens Podcast by StoryOne. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube so you never miss an episode. Until next time, we are grateful to have you on this journey with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. Thank you for joining us on the StoryLens Podcast. If you're navigating complex financial decisions, we're here to help. We know your story is anything but ordinary, and that's why we start there, because the right solutions are as unique as you are.
StoryOne Family Office, LLC, or StoryOne is a registered investment advisor, RIA, registered with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and the content of this communication has not been approved or verified by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or by any state securities authority. StoryOne renders individualized investment advice to persons in a particular state only after complying with the state's regulatory requirements or pursuant to an applicable state exemption or exclusion. All investments carry risk, and no investment strategy can guarantee a profit or protect from loss of capital. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor shall this be construed as advice for the financial needs of any individual. StoryOne is not permitted to offer, and no statements made during this podcast should constitute legal or tax advice. The information contained herein has been compiled by independent third parties, have been obtained from sources who are believed to be reliable. However, accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by StoryOne.